At my granddaughter's wedding, the name tag they handed me didn't say Eleanor Hart. It said, in bold capital letters, the old lady paying for everything. The girl at the check-in table laughed before she looked up. When she finally met my eyes, the laughter slid off her face like a bad sticker. I can print another one, she stammered. This must be a mistake. I held the tag between my fingers. For a heartbeat, I thought about crumpling it and walking away. Instead, I pinned it to my dress, straightened my shoulders, and lifted my chin. No, I said. Let's keep the truth honest for one night. I asked her to hold the welcome board steady while I took a photo, the sign with Jenna and Caleb in gold script, the ballroom clock behind us, and my chest with that tag front and center. Click. Then I turned slightly so the time on the clock was visible. Click again. Context. Always context. Is everything all right, ma'am? She whispered, cheeks turning pink. Everything is finally legible, I said. Newport glittered that evening. Inside, the ballroom smelled of peonies and money. Chandeliers caught every laugh and turned it into sparkle. The band tuned something upbeat. People clinked glasses, adjusted cufflinks, compared dresses. By the pastry table, 2 guests performed kindness too loudly. Did you see her tag? One murmured. Vanessa said it was hilarious, the other answered. Their personal ATM. I didn't confront them. I watched their faces in the beveled mirror, soft and amused, while the words personal ATM bounced between their champagne flutes. Then I raised my phone and took another photo, their blurred reflections, my tag in perfect focus. Trust is warm, I thought, but logs are cold. I slipped my hand into my clutch, opened my banking app under the table, and checked the settings I already knew by heart. Fraud alerts on. Transfer alerts on. Daily balance alerts on. My security was tight. My boundaries were not. I texted a number I hadn't used since my husband died, Carter Hale, attorney. Name tag at Jenna's wedding says, old lady paying for everything. I'm wearing it. Photos attached. I think I finally understand what Ryan and Vanessa see when they look at me. Next step. He replied almost instantly. Don't remove it. Keep documenting. Call me in the morning. I put the phone away and walked the room. Strangers reveal truth faster than family. Miles, my grandson, found me near the windows. Grandma, do you want me to say something? His jaw was tight. His eyes flicked to the tag like it burned. Not yet, I said. Tonight is for collecting. Tomorrow is for filing. He looked at my hands. They were steady. He nodded, the way his grandfather used to when he knew I'd already made up my mind. Dinner ended, and the toasts began. Glasses chimed. Stories were told. Laughter rolled across the room in waves. Then Vanessa took the microphone. She put a hand dramatically on her collarbone, the way she does when she wants to look fragile. What a beautiful day, she said. Family is everything. And speaking of everything, my stomach tightened. Let's thank the woman with the biggest heart and the deepest pockets. She turned toward me, smiling with all her teeth. Applause for Eleanor, who will also be sending our newlyweds on their dream honeymoon, to the Maldives. The room froze. Cutlery stopped. Someone actually gasped. I stood. My chair scraped loud enough to echo off the crystal. I don't recall agreeing to fund a Maldives honeymoon, I said. My voice was calm enough to scare me. Announcing other people's money is impolite. Announcing mine is over. A buzz went through the tables. Forks resumed scraping plates, but softer, as if they were afraid to make eye contact with their food. Jenna's face drained of color. Caleb stared at the tablecloth. Vanessa laughed, just a shade too high. Oh, she's joking, she said into the mic. We talked about it earlier. She said she'd think about it. I am thinking, I said. This is me thinking out loud. Ryan appeared at my elbow, smile tight. Mom, don't make a scene. I'm not making a scene, I said. I'm making a boundary. The band slid into some neutral background noise, the kind they use in elevators and emergencies. People looked down. The moment didn't explode. It just cracked and lay there on the dance floor. I sat back down and ate my salad. Lemon, pepper, and a line drawn in the sand. Later, in the corridor, I took another photo, my tag against the embossed wallpaper, the brass clock above reading 9:07 p.m. If anyone ever argued about when this happened, the wall and the clock would testify. A man in a dark suit rounded the corner and stopped. Mrs. Hart? Eleanor, I corrected. I'm Carter. We exchanged messages. I exhaled slowly. You came. He glanced at the tag, then back at me. Thomas would have called this what it is. Name it, I said. Names make maps. Public humiliation, he replied. If they escalate into your finances or claim you're slipping, that becomes undue influence. I'm not crazy, then. No, he said. You're competent and documenting. Competence loves paper. He didn't waste time. He laid out the next steps in bullet points, as if we were in a meeting and not in a ballroom hallway that smelled of perfume and cream sauce. Keep the tag on. Photograph it next to anything that proves time and place, clock, welcome board, seating chart. Tomorrow, get the event manager to confirm who approved the text. Don't argue, don't explain. Just ask for a copy. And my family? If someone confronts you tonight, remember the 2 words that matter most, write it down. Tomorrow, pull your bank statements for the last 3 years. Start a log, date, time, what was said, who was there. If anyone says power of attorney or you can't manage alone, I want it written down with witnesses. I felt the heat in my cheek where Vanessa's joke had landed, no hand, no slap, just words in front of 50 people. A different kind of strike. So I'm not overreacting, I said. He shook his head. A joke would have been grandma of the bride. This is a label. Labels travel. They don't make these moves once. They practice. I've been paying their bills for 3 years, I said quietly. I thought I was helping. That's the thing about patterns, he said. You don't see them while they're being stitched. You notice them once they cover the whole bed. I went back into the ballroom and danced one song with Caleb's other grandfather. Jenna hugged me near the cake and whispered, I'm so sorry about the tag. I didn't know. I believed her. That was the problem. There were whole conversations happening about me that my own granddaughter wasn't invited to. Near the end of the night, Ryan cornered me by the doors. Vanessa hovered behind him, smile sharp. Mom, Vanessa didn't mean to embarrass you, he said. We're just concerned. The house is big. Stairs. Heating bills. That neighborhood had a break-in last month. Downsizing could be safer. You shouldn't be on your own. Safety is real, I said. So are pretexts. If you were worried about my stairs, you'd offer to change light bulbs, not my address. You know Dad left you comfortable, he insisted. Why not be generous? It's family. I have been generous, I replied. Kitchen remodels. College cars. Florida villas so everyone could heal together. You never asked what I wanted, because you never planned to hear me say no. This isn't you talking, he said. You're not being yourself. This is me, I said, and tapped the tag. This is me with logs. He glanced at the letters on my chest and winced. At least take that off. You're making yourself look ridiculous. I'm making you look accurate, I said. You can fix that at any time. I left before midnight. At the valet, I took one last photo, the tag in my hand, the resort logo glowing behind it, harbor lights lined up like witnesses. At home, I didn't throw the tag away. I slid it into a plastic sleeve, wrote the date and the words Jenna's wedding, Newport on the tab, and put it in a fresh manila folder. Then I opened a notebook and wrote the first entry in a new log, 6:12 p.m., check-in table. Name tag, the old lady paying for everything. Staffer offers to reprint. I decline. Photos taken. 8:55 p.m. Vanessa's toast. Announces Maldives honeymoon in my name. I refuse publicly. Witnesses, entire room. 9:07 p.m. Photo of tag under hallway clock. Carter arrives. Term used, public humiliation. My phone buzzed on the counter. A close friend's story from Vanessa, a boomerang of the tag in someone's hand with the caption, when the sponsor arrives. I took a screenshot. Then another message, from her, let's align on Maldives tomorrow. Rates won't hold. And one from Ryan, tomorrow we should talk downsizing. House is too much. We can help. I added both to the log. Tomorrow, they thought, would be about how to spend my money. Tomorrow, I decided, would be about something else entirely. The night after the wedding, my kitchen smelled faintly of frosting and old coffee. The tag sat on the table between my hands like evidence at a trial that hadn't started yet. I opened the folder in my file cabinet labeled family support and spread the papers out. I had made that label in a generous mood. Under the fluorescent light, it looked more like damage. 3 big piles told the story. Pile 1, the kitchen. 6 months after Thomas's funeral, Ryan and Vanessa had taken me to a bistro Thomas loved, solid soup, tables that didn't wobble. They had asked about my walks, my sleep, my coping. Then Ryan slid a printout across the bread plate, a contractor's estimate. New cabinets. Quartz counters. Gas line for a range Vanessa had circled in red. An investment, Ryan had said. It'll add value. Dad would have wanted you to support milestones. The number was precise enough to sound reasonable, $29,840 before tax. I had written the check the next day, still swollen with grief. In my bookkeeping software, I'd labeled it, Kitchen Refresh, Gift. That word, gift, gave them more permission than I knew. Pile 2, the cars. The next ask arrived dressed as safety. Jenna's commute is long, Vanessa had said. Late labs, icy roads. That old car isn't reliable. They sent a photo of a white crossover with leather seats and a panoramic roof. It looked like a commercial for a happy family, which is exactly what I wanted to believe we still were. Thomas and I had promised each other our grandkids wouldn't drown in tuition. Somewhere along the way, tuition had grown a sunroof. I paid off the difference after the trade-in. 3 months later, Ryan said, it's only fair Miles gets something similar when he turns 18. Fair. That word again. So I did it again. Second car, second payoff, second large transfer out of an account Thomas and I had taken 30 years to build. Pile 3, the villa. Vanessa's voice had been bright when she called about the Florida villa. We found this place on a key, the pool looks like a poured promise. We could all be together for a week, first time since the funeral. I already put a hold on it. Who's paying for it? I had asked. Let's not talk about money now, she'd said. Let's talk about healing. Healing, it turns out, costs exactly the same as a luxury week on the water, plus flights. I had put it all on one card and paid the balance in full. At the end of the trip, Ryan had hugged me and used another dangerous word, tradition. Between those 3 scenes lay dozens of smaller withdrawals with polite names, bridge amount until bonus hits. Just the deposit, we'll cover the rest. Gap in tuition, we didn't expect lab fees to be so high. I rarely said no. I said, of course, and we'll figure it out. The ledger figured it out for me when I ran the year-end report and saw the total. It was large enough to deserve its own folder and its own boundaries. I stared at the numbers now, then at the wedding tag. They hadn't invented the old lady paying for everything at a printer that afternoon. They had simply written down what they had been saying to each other for 3 years. My phone alarm buzzed. 9:30 a.m. time to call Carter. He picked up on the second ring. Eleanor? I have the tag. I have photos. And I have 3 years of checks that suddenly look different, I said. Good, he replied. Bring the tag, the photos, and whatever records you have. And bring your memory. We'll put everything in order. His office on South Main smelled like old books and copier toner. He had a yellow legal pad in front of him and a manila envelope he didn't open. Walk me through yesterday in order, he said. I read from my notebook, line by line, check-in, whispers, Maldives announcement, my response, his arrival in the hallway. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he slid the manila envelope toward me. Before Thomas went into the hospital for the last time, he asked me to draft and hold a codicil, a small add-on to his will, Carter said. He didn't tell you because he wanted good behavior from the kids to be a choice, not a fear response. He told me to use it only if you were publicly humiliated or if anyone tried to take control of your finances against your wishes. My throat tightened. My fingers shook just a little as I opened the envelope and unfolded the document. The language was simple and devastating. Any descendant who publicly humiliates the surviving spouse or attempts to assert control over her finances without her consent forfeits his or her share of the estate held under the will. The executor may rely on contemporaneous documents and third-party accounts. I read it twice. Thomas's signature sat at the bottom, steady and familiar. He left this for me? I whispered. He left this for you, Carter said. He knew you'd keep the house running and the numbers straight. He did not trust everyone else to respect that. I thought of Ryan's voice at the wedding, downsizing could be safer. I thought of Vanessa's whisper, when the sponsor arrives. Does last night qualify as public humiliation? I asked. Carter looked at me over his glasses. A name tag that reduces you to a wallet, approved by your own son, used at a microphone in front of a room full of people? Yes. It's not a private bad joke in a kitchen. It's staged. And the money? I gestured at my folder. Kitchen, cars, vacations, those show pattern, he said. Not illegal by themselves, but important context, especially if they keep pushing for more and start playing the "Mom Can't Manage" a song. A cold anger settled where grief used to sit. What do we do? I asked. We document, he said. You've already started. Now we turn your instincts into a system. We made a list. 1. Lock down my accounts. I already had alerts. He wanted notes on file, no third-party access, no helpful account views, no joint accounts created without my written, in-person request. 2. Collect proof from the wedding. Event manager, roster, any emails approving the tag text, photos, videos of the toast, social media posts. 3. Build a simple timeline of the past 3 years. The kitchen, the cars, the Florida villa, the bridges and gaps, with dates and amounts. Not to shame anyone, to see the pattern clearly. 4. Start a contemporaneous log. Every conversation about money, housing, safety, or help. Date, time, who was present, what was said. No adjectives. Just facts. 5. Stay calm. You're not the one rushing, Carter said. They are. People who feel a door closing start pushing harder. Let them. Just keep your pen in your hand. What about Thomas's codicil? I asked quietly. Do you use it now? Not yet, he said. It's a last step, not a first. My job as executor is to decide, when the time comes, whether the conditions have been met. Your job is to live your life, document honestly, and not sign a single thing you don't understand. We went through my family support folder. He didn't judge the amounts, he just wrote dates and check numbers. When we finished, he asked me to sign a short note authorizing him to request records from the resort and any vendors. When I left his office, I felt something I hadn't felt since Thomas died, backed up. Not rescued, Thomas had never been the rescuing type. Backed up, like a spine. At the bank, I sat with the branch manager and had them put notes on my profile. Customer does not authorize any third party of family or otherwise to access accounts, obtain statements, or open joint accounts. Any inquiries to be escalated to branch manager. Changes require in-person verification with ID. I signed. She countersigned. I took a copy for my new folder. At home, I made coffee, opened my notebook, and wrote on the first page in large letters, "Trust is warm. Logs are cold. Keep both." The phone buzzed. Ryan. I let it go to voicemail. Then Vanessa. Voicemail. I listened later. Mom, we should talk about options before you get overwhelmed. We can simplify everything for you. It really hurt Vanessa that you embarrassed her in front of everyone. Maybe we can have a family meeting this weekend, just us, to align. They weren't apologizing for the tag. They were apologizing for my reaction. I wrote a single line under today's date. They're not sorry for what they did. They're sorry I didn't accept it quietly. Tomorrow, I told myself, they will start talking in the language Carter warned me about: safety, stress, governance, help. When they did, I would be ready, with a pen in my hand and a husband's quiet signature in a codicil they didn't know existed. Bloco 3, Cuando a preocupeo viru control. The resort ballroom looked different on my laptop screen the next day, smaller, manageable. The events manager, a woman named Claire, answered my call on the first ring. Ms. Hart, I was meaning to reach out, she said. We all saw the tag. Then this will be simple, I replied. I need to know who submitted the text and who approved it. She didn't hesitate. The copy came in from Vanessa Hart in an email. Let's keep it light and fun. Your son Ryan replied with approval. I can send the thread and the proof sheet. Please do, I said. With timestamps. Within an hour, my inbox held PDFs, sample tag layouts, an email from Vanessa with the words, "The old lady paying for everything. This'll be hilarious." Ryan's response, "Love it, keep it fun." The resort's internal approval stamp sat neatly in the margin. I forwarded everything to Carter with a subject line that felt like a verdict. They wrote it. They approved it. They knew exactly what it said. Claire also mentioned a staff camera on the back wall of the ballroom. It probably caught the toast, she said. And your response? Would you mind pulling that section? I asked. Not at all, she said. I'll send it securely to your attorney. A tiny part of me flinched at the idea of watching that moment again. The rest of me understood. The more I hated reliving it, the more important it was to have it on record. By noon, the framework of my case, though I didn't fully call it that yet, was quietly taking shape. I spent the afternoon going through my own records. Every check to the contractor. Every car payoff. Every bridge deposit. I didn't rewrite history. I didn't add commentary. I simply wrote beside each transaction what it was sold to me as: kitchen investment, safety for Jenna, family healing tradition. When I was done, the family support folder had a new front page, a single sheet with 3 columns: date, amount, story I was told. That evening, my phone lit up. Ryan again. This time, I answered. Carter had told me, "You don't have to avoid all contact, you just don't give them what they want." "Hi, Mom," Ryan said, voice carefully soft. "Been trying to reach you. How are you feeling after last night?" "I'm fine," I said. "How are you feeling after last night?" A beat of silence. "Look, the tag was just a joke. Vanessa didn't mean anything by it. Claire from the resort sent me the email thread," I replied. "You approved it. You used the phrase, 'Love it, keep it fun.'" His inhale was sharp. "You called the resort?" "I did," I said. "And my attorney." "You brought a lawyer into this?" His voice rose half an octave. "You and Vanessa brought a lawyer into this when you printed my role on a plastic card and pinned it on me in front of 50 people, I said. "I'm just catching up." "This is exactly what we're worried about," he snapped. "You're overreacting, making everything adversarial. All we ever wanted was to help you. The house is too much. Bills, maintenance, the furnace was serviced in October, I cut in. The insulation we installed 2 winters ago cut the heating bill by a third. I have the receipts. The house is not what's too much." He went quiet again. Then his voice shifted into something rehearsed. "We've been talking," he said. "Me, Vanessa, some friends who've been through this with their parents. Everyone says the same thing: it's easier on everyone if someone trusted steps in early. You know, to handle bills, paperwork, decisions. Take the stress off your plate." There it was, the word Carter had promised would show up sooner or later. "Are you talking about a power of attorney?" I asked. He exhaled, as if I were the one pressing him. "Just a limited one. For your protection. So we can simplify things. Vanessa even found a community that would be perfect for you: no stairs, on-site clinic activities. They're holding a villa while we decide. We were hoping to sit down this weekend, go over numbers, maybe sign a few forms so we can move forward." I let his words hang in the air for a moment. Then I thought of Thomas's codicil waiting in Carter's file. "No," I said. "No, you won't move?" he asked. "No, I won't sign anything," I said. "And no, I won't give you or anyone else power of attorney. My bills are paid. My accounts are sound. I am managing my life." "You don't understand," he insisted. "This is for your safety. People your age get scammed every day. What if something happens and you're alone in that house?" "If something happens," I said evenly, "I have neighbors, a phone, and a doctor. What I don't need is my son turning my life into a project he can manage." "You're being paranoid," he said. "Dad would be ashamed of how suspicious you've become." The words hit harder than the tag. He knew exactly where to aim. "Thomas left a codicil," I said quietly. "Do you know what that is?" "No," he snapped. "And I don't care what obscure paperwork you drag up. He would want us to be in charge of your safety. We're your family." We sat in silence for a moment, both listening to breaths and years. "Ryan," I said finally, "I am not a problem to be managed. I am a person to be respected. If you want to visit, you are welcome. If you want to talk about your life, I'll listen. But if you come to my house with brochures and blank forms, I will not open the door." "You're going to force my hand," he said, voice low. "I'm not going to watch you make mistakes and do nothing." "You've been watching me pay your bills for 3 years, I replied. "That didn't seem to bother you." He hung up. I stared at the phone for a long time, then wrote the conversation in my log, every key phrase: power of attorney, for your protection, force my hand. The next day, an email arrived from him titled Family Check-in. "We should meet Saturday at noon at your house. Vanessa and I will bring some materials from a senior community and a simple support plan to reduce your stress. Let's keep lawyers out of this and talk as family." I replied, "Any meeting about my finances or housing will be held at Carter Hale's office during business hours, with a third party present and written notes afterward. I will not discuss legal or financial matters at my home." He wrote back one line: "Weekends are easier for us." I repeated myself, copied Carter, and logged it. Saturday, my doorbell camera sent a notification, Ryan's SUV in my driveway, Vanessa beside him, a folder in her hand. I opened the main door but left the glass storm door latched. "You're 5 minutes early," I said. "And in the wrong location." "Mom, don't be dramatic," Ryan said, lifting the folder. "We just want to go over a few things. Floor plans, a support plan, some paperwork to make sure the bills are on autopilot. It's not a big deal." "I told you," I replied. "No meetings about my finances or housing at my home. Those happen at Carter's office." Vanessa slid the folder toward the gap at the bottom of the storm door with the toe of her shoe. I looked down and saw the words power of attorney printed on a packet inside. "Just read it," she said. "Sign later if you want. We're trying to help you before something bad happens." Across the street, my neighbor Linda stepped out with a grocery tote and paused, watching us. Ryan leaned in closer to the glass. "Mom, please. Don't make this a spectacle. The neighbors will think something's wrong." "There is," I said. "My son and his wife are standing on my porch with legal documents I did not ask for, after I told them not to." Vanessa's smile cracked. "Thomas would be ashamed of how ungrateful you're being." "After everything we've done to support you, everything you've asked me to pay for," I corrected. Ryan's jaw tightened. "We'll try again later this afternoon, when you've calmed down," he said. "If you come back again today," I replied, "I will consider it harassment. And I'll add it to my log." "Is that a threat?" he asked. "No," I said. "It's documentation." Linda lifted a hand in a small wave. "Everything okay, Eleanor?" "We're finished here," I called. Ryan and Vanessa were just leaving. Ryan flushed. Vanessa nudged the folder farther in with her foot. "I will not accept unsolicited legal documents pushed under my door," I said. "If you want Carter to see them, email his office." Ryan stared at the doorbell camera lens, then back at me. "You're making a mistake," he said. "Maybe," I answered. "But it will be my mistake, with my signature, or without it." They left, walking past Linda, who watched them go without pretending not to. I didn't pick up the folder. I took a photo of it lying on the mat instead, time-stamped by the camera, my porch light visible in the frame. Then I used a pen to pull it inside without touching it, slid it into a larger envelope, and sealed it. I sent Carter the video and the photo with one sentence. "They brought a power of attorney to my porch after I said no." His reply came back minutes later, "Good. Don't open it. I'll have a courier pick it up for chain of custody." You're doing exactly what you should. When people start using the words, "for your own good," the paper needs to be very, very clear. I set the sealed envelope on the table next to the wedding tag, the resort emails, the log, and the codicil Thomas had signed when he still believed his son would never make him use it. They had printed my roll on plastic. I had printed theirs on paper. And we were only getting started. Bloco 4, brunch, armadilha eo dia k levi meu proprio no membora on Sunday night. Ryan's message lit up my phone. "We're hosting an appreciation brunch on Wednesday at the country club to thank everyone who helped with the wedding. It'll be low-key. We want people to thank you properly for everything you've done." That last line, "thank you properly," sat wrong in my chest. After the name tag and the porch visit with a power of attorney packet, I had learned one thing. In my family, gratitude often arrived carrying a clipboard. I forwarded the message to Carter. "Should I go?" "Yes," he wrote back. "Sit near the back. If they start using you as an example or bringing in resources, you stand up and walk out. Text me what happens." So I went. The ballroom smelled like polished wood, coffee, and money. White tablecloths, gold chairs, a podium dressed in flowers that had already lived through too many speeches. I chose a seat near the back where I could see the podium and the exit at the same time. I set my phone face down, but not far. The club manager spoke first, reading off a list of vendors. Florist, caterer, photographer, band. When he reached my name, he said, "And a very special thank you to Mrs. Eleanor Hart, contribution amount private at donor's request." He glanced toward me with a respectful nod. One clean, honest sentence. I wrote down the time. Then Vanessa took the microphone. She had on a pale dress and the kind of smile you practice in front of a mirror. "We are so grateful," she said. "Family is everything. But we also know transitions after a loss can be complicated." The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Transitions after a loss, that wasn't brunch language. That was brochure language. And because we care so much about our elders, she continued, we invited someone very special today. She's from a wonderful senior living community and will share how they can reduce stress for older adults and their families. A woman in a blazer stood up, smiling, arms full of trifold brochures. She started toward the podium, heels clicking like punctuation. I stood too. My chair scraped across the floor, louder than any applause so far. Heads turned. The woman in the blazer froze mid-aisle, caught between us. I'm leaving, I said, loud enough to reach the back wall. I did not consent to being part of any presentation about senior housing or services. The room went very still. Forks hovered above plates. The club manager hurried over. Ms. Hart, is everything all right? This is not what I was invited to, I said. I won't sit quietly while my life is turned into a case study. Behind him, Ryan's voice slid into the microphone. Sometimes people resist change, but safety is love. I didn't stay for the rest. I walked out. In the foyer, there was a printed program. Under special segment, it read, Senior Living Options, sponsored by Vanessa Hart. I took a photo of the program with the ballroom sign behind it. In the car, I emailed the club manager at 11:32 a.m. I left the brunch after an unannounced senior living presentation was introduced. I did not consent to being included in any discussion about my housing. Please send me the event order showing this segment. His reply came before I left the parking lot. An attachment with the event order, the segment added the day before, contact, Vanessa Hart. I forwarded it to Carter and added a line to my log. On the drive home, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened, cheerful voice, senior living representative, offering tours, with family present to discuss financing and floor plans. I sent one sentence to her office, please remove my number from your outreach list. I will not be touring or discussing my housing with your company. Then I copied Carter. That should have been enough to shame most people into stopping. For Ryan and Vanessa, it was just the warm-up. The next week became a montage of ringing phones and doors and people trying to put their hands on my life without using the word theft. My doctor's office called. Ms. Hart, we're confirming, you did not add a daughter-in-law as an emergency contact, correct? No, I said. Someone tried? Yes. We declined. We've documented it. At the bank, the fraud department called. We had a request from someone claiming to be your son, asking for view-only access for planning, the representative said. Because of your note, no third-party access, we blocked it. Thank you, I said. Please send that in writing. The pastor called. Eleanor, I had Ryan in my office, he said gently. He expressed concern that you might not be thinking clearly. He asked me to check on you. I think clearly enough to know who is paying my bills, I replied. And who is trying to replace my signature with theirs. He gave a sad little chuckle. I told him the church doesn't stand between an adult and her attorney, he said. Then came the knock on the door. Doorbell chime. My phone buzzing with the door camera. A uniform on my porch. I opened the inner door and left the glass storm door locked. Yes? Ma'am, I'm Officer Green, he said. We received a call from a relative asking for a wellness check. Of course you did. I held my ID up to the glass, then unfolded the doctor's letter noting I was oriented, independent, managing my own affairs. He read it, looked over my shoulder at my neat hallway, shoes lined up, coat hung, kitchen light warm in the background. You seem fine to me, he said. I'll note that. Could you write down who requested it? I asked. And the time? He handed me his card with the incident number. I wrote it in the log as soon as the squad car pulled away. That night, Ryan left another voicemail, this one colder. If you won't accept help, I'll have to talk to a judge about guardianship, he said. This isn't what I want, but you're giving me no choice. I sat at the table, phone in one hand, pen in the other. My own son, talking about me like a broken appliance he was obligated to replace. Not mother. Not Eleanor. A problem. My own son is treating me like a case to resolve, I wrote in the margin of my notebook. Then I forwarded the voicemail to Carter. Good, he replied. Let him say guardianship out loud. If he files, we meet him with paper. You keep living. I'll keep filing. I closed the binder and set my palm on its cover. Beyond the walls of my house, they were telling a story about a fragile old woman in a dangerous home. Inside, I had clean floors, a serviced furnace, a working lock, and a spine that had carried more than this. They were building a case. I was building a record. It would have been easy to let the whole thing swallow me, spend my days replaying every insult, listening for every new scheme in the ring of the phone. Instead, I made a decision. If they were going to turn my life into a project, I would make sure I was the one actually living it. On Tuesday, I walked to the community center and signed up for a 6-week watercolor class. The clerk asked, "Mornings or evenings?" "Mornings," I said. "Light tells the truth better before lunch." She smiled, gave me a flimsy receipt. I slid it into the binder later, not because it was evidence against anyone, but as proof for me. A line that simply read, "I am still learning new things." The first class smelled like paper and wet paint. The instructor asked us to paint something simple with 2 colors. I painted a small harbor, 3 boats, a narrow strip of sky. The woman beside me, Ruth, said, "I started this after I retired so I'd remember time is still mine." "I'm doing something like that," I replied. On Wednesday at 4, Jenna started coming by. No Vanessa, no Ryan, no folders. Just my granddaughter and a paper bag with 2 croissants or a box of leftover wedding favors. "I'm so embarrassed about the tag," she said one afternoon, twisting the napkin in her hands. "I didn't know Dad approved it. Or about the senior living thing. I just thought, we were thanking you." "You're not on trial," I said. "Your father and Vanessa made those choices, not you." "What can I do now?" she asked. "2 things," I said. "Don't be a messenger. And don't let anyone use you as a prop in their version of me." She nodded, eyes bright. "If Dad asks me to bring you papers?" "Tell him I have an attorney," I said. "And that legal questions go there. You are my granddaughter, not my mail carrier." She smiled a little. "Okay. Wednesdays at 4. "Wednesdays at 4, I said. Then there was Miles. He found me at a coffee shop one afternoon with a folder under his arm and that mix of fear and hope that only 20-somethings and people in love carry. "I've been working on something," he said, sliding the folder over. Inside was a business plan, a small bookstore cafe near the university. Used and new paperbacks. Coffee. Poetry nights. A spreadsheet that actually respected math. "I want to ask if you'd consider," he swallowed. "Not a gift. A loan. Real terms. Paper. I don't want to be like them." There it was, the crack in the cycle. "I'll consider it," I said, leaving the folder shut. "But if we do this, it will be a loan. Contract. Interest. Payment schedule. Business account. An adult deal between 2 adults." "Good," he said, exhaling. That's all I wanted. We went to the university business clinic together. The attorney helped us shape a secured note, interest only for a few months, then payments, equipment as collateral, quarterly statements to me. At one point the attorney asked, "Do you want your son or daughter listed anywhere on this?" "No," I said. "This is between Miles and me." On the way out, Miles said, "Thank you for not treating me like a child." "I'm done pretending grown men are children," I replied. "It's time they stopped pretending I'm one." While I was painting harbors and reading business plans, the other branch of my family stayed busy. Anonymous posts about stubborn elders on neighborhood apps. An envelope from a law firm I recognized from Ryan's divorce years ago. Carter opened that letter at his desk while I sat across from him. "They're requesting a family meeting at your house," he said, eyes skimming the lines, "with a notary present to sign up limited power of attorney for bill paying and short-term management of your finances and housing." He looked up. "They want to bring the pen and the witness to your living room and call that a comfort." A flash of heat climbed my throat. For a moment, I saw it, my own couch, my own coffee table, my own hands shaking as names and lines slid across paper in front of relatives who insisted it was no big deal. "No," I said. "No more doors opened for people who arrive with forms." Carter slid the letter into a clear sleeve and then pulled out the codicil Thomas had signed, the one I hadn't known existed until all this started. "Your husband saw this possibility," he said. "He asked me to hold this document in case anyone ever humiliated you publicly or tried to control your finances against your wishes." I looked at Thomas's signature, strong and steady. "So now what?" I asked. "Now," Carter said, "we stop letting them write scenes on your porch. We bring them here. On the record. And we let your husband's words do what they were written to do." The conference room smelled like coffee and toner and the faint trace of old wood. A long table. 4 chairs on each side. At the end, a woman with a small machine, our court reporter, testing keys that clicked like rain on a roof. I arrived with my binder. There will be no signatures today, Carter said before he could sit. This is a meeting to clarify the record. Your notary isn't needed. The man blinked, turned, and left. We stated our names for the record. The machine began its soft clatter. Carter laid the rules like a good teacher. One person speaks at a time, no yelling, no recordings except the transcript. We're not here to trade feelings, he said. We're here to put facts in order. He started with the wedding. He didn't read every line of every email. He didn't need to. Only the sharpest ones. A photo of me in front of the welcome board, name tag visible, the old lady paying for everything. Vanessa's email to the resort, let's make her tag say this, it'll be hilarious. She's basically our ATM anyway. Ryan's reply, love it. Keep it fun. Carter slid the printouts toward them. Do either of you dispute that you wrote and approved this? Ryan stared at the paper. It was a joke, he said at last. Mom has always been able to laugh at herself. I asked if you dispute approving it, Carter repeated, voice calm but edged. Ryan's jaw flexed. No, he said. Vanessa shifted in her chair. I submitted it, she admitted. I didn't think it would hurt her. Everyone knows she paid for everything anyway. The words hung there like a confession trying to pass as a shrug. Carter moved to the toast. He read the single sentence where Vanessa declared I would be paying for a Maldives honeymoon. Then my answer, I don't recall agreeing to fund that trip. Announcing other people's money is impolite, announcing mine is over. He didn't linger. He didn't need to. He had the staff camera still of me standing, the transcript of the laugh that followed, too high, too thin. Next came the porch visit, a still from my door camera of the manila folder being pushed under the storm door, my email afterward stating that all meetings about finances must happen at Carter's office, the courier receipt picking that folder up unopened. Did you deliver power of attorney documents to your mother after she refused them? Carter asked. We wanted her to at least look at them, Ryan said. She refuses to discuss anything. We're trying to reduce her stress. You don't reduce someone's stress by shoving your solution under their door, Carter replied. He walked us through the brunch ambush with the senior living representative, but briefly, the program listing the segment, the event order with Vanessa as contact, my email to the club, the manager's apology. Then the outreach, the bank's note about attempted access, the doctor's note about a failed attempt to become my emergency contact, the pastor's quiet message, the wellness check officer's card. Each one page. Each one sentence. Finally, Carter placed the codicil in the center of the table. This is the paragraph Thomas added to his will, he said, steady. I'll read it into the record. He read, any descendant who publicly humiliates the surviving spouse or attempts to assert control over her finances without her consent forfeits his or her share of the estate. The executor is authorized to determine whether conditions have been met, relying on contemporaneous documentation and third-party accounts. The room seemed to contract. Ryan's face went pale. Dad would never do that to me, he said. He already did, Carter said softly, tapping the signature. But he let you choose whether that line would ever matter. He turned to me. Eleanor, do you want to say anything before I state my determination? I looked at my son. For a heartbeat, I saw his 8-year-old face, tearful because he'd struck out in Little League and Thomas had carried him to the car anyway. I have loved you every day of your life, I said. I have paid for your kitchens and your cars and your holidays. But I won't let you erase me so you can feel like a hero. I don't need a guardian. I need my own name on my own decisions. You tried to take that. I am not the problem you get to solve. Ryan looked away. Carter nodded once, then addressed the reporter. Based on the documents and on what we've heard today, he said, I find that Ryan Hart has both publicly humiliated the surviving spouse and attempted to assert control over her finances against her expressed wishes. Under the codicil, his share of the estate is forfeited. Per the will, that forfeited share is redistributed, half to Eleanor, half divided among the remaining descendants, Jenna and Miles. Vanessa let out a sharp breath. This is cruelty, she said. After everything we've done for her, she's turning everyone against us. You invited a senior living rep to ambush her at a brunch she paid for, Carter replied. You called her doctor, her bank, her pastor, and the police. The only thing turning against you here is paper. Ryan's voice broke. I'll contest. I'll go to court. I'll tell them she's not well, that she's paranoid, that Carter slid the doctor's letter forward. You can tell any story you like to your lawyer, he said. But the law listens better to dates and signatures than to adjectives. He turned to Jenna and Miles. You are not affected by this forfeiture. You have not humiliated your grandmother or tried to control her. Your shares remain. Jenna nodded, tears in her eyes. Miles's hand found my shoulder for a brief, firm squeeze. The court reporter stopped typing. The meeting adjourned. In the hallway, Jenna asked, "Do you need a ride?" "I have my car," I said. "Do you need a minute?" She swallowed. "I need time," she said. "But I want to see you Wednesday." "Same time." "Same time," I answered. That night, Carter sent the written determination and the exhibit list. I slid them into the binder at the very front and wrote one new line in my log. "Today, my husband's words closed a door my son kept trying to force open." Outside, the house did what it always does at night, settled with small creaks, the furnace humming, the lock sliding into place like a well-punctuated sentence. They had tried to put a tag on me that said "OLD lady paying for everything." Thomas had left one in a drawer that said something else, "Eleanor Hart, owner of her life." The morning after Carter's determination, my phone lit up like a faulty Christmas tree. First Ryan. Twice. Then Vanessa. Then an unknown number. I let them all go to voicemail. The binder sat open on the table, codicil and exhibit list at the front like a quiet verdict. Ryan's first message was all heat. "Mom, this is insane. You've let Carter twist Dad's intentions. You're punishing your own son. I'm not going to accept this. I'll tell everyone you're not well. I'll fix this. I saved it," wrote the Time. The unknown number turned out to be an officer. "Ma'am," he said politely through the storm door when he arrived an hour later, "we received a call from a relative asking for a wellness check. Mind if I ask you a few questions?" I showed him my ID, then the letter from my doctor, oriented, independent, managing her own finances and medications. No cognitive concerns. He looked around my hallway, sorted shoes, neat coat hooks, the faint smell of coffee and lemon oil, then back at the letter. "You seem fine to me," he said. "I'll note that and close this out. Please write down who requested it," I said. "And a time." He gave me his card with the incident number. Into the log it went, badge number, time, the phrase "no concerns." By noon, the electric company called. "MS. Hart, we're just confirming, you did not ask to have a secondary contact added to your account for convenience?" "No," I said. "Someone tried?" "Yes, ma'am. Our system flagged it because of the note we already had on your profile, no third-party access." "Please add a password," I said. "A code phrase that must be used before any changes." I chose a phrase only Thomas would have guessed, wrote it on an index card, and slid it into the Utilities tab in the binder. The company emailed a confirmation. I printed it. An hour later, the bank's fraud department called. "Ms. Hart, we've had another attempt to get view-only access to your accounts," the representative said. This time, the person claimed to be your accountant. "I don't have an accountant," I replied. "Not one who calls on my behalf. We blocked it," she said. "Would you like us to add a fraud watch notation for 90 days? "Yes," I said. "And I'd like the date, time, and callback number used, in writing." She sent the log, I filed it. No adjectives. Just ink. That night, Ryan left another voicemail. He'd shifted tone. Less shouting, more martyrdom. "You're forcing me to take steps you'll regret," he said. "If you won't accept help, I'll have to talk to a judge about guardianship. This isn't what I want, but you're giving me no choice." People love that sentence, "You're giving me no choice." It turns their decisions into your crime. I forwarded the message to Carter. He replied within minutes. "Good. Let him say the word guardianship out loud. If he files, we meet him with the log, the doctor's letter, the officer's card, the bank and utility notes. You keep living. I'll keep filing." It was strange, living in a house that felt both safe and under siege. The walls hadn't moved, but the way people talked about them had. In Ryan's script, my staircase had become a villain, my furnace a lurking threat, my front door an indictment. In reality, the stairs creaked in the same two places they always had, the furnace filter was marked on my index card for regular replacement, and the lock Thomas had installed slid shut with the same solid sound as the night we chose it. On Wednesday, Jenna came at 4 as usual. She carried a small plant with soft leaves and set it on the porch where the light is kind in the late afternoon. I read the determination, she said quietly at the table. Dad forwarded it to the whole family chat. He said you'd turned Carter against him. I didn't turn anyone, I replied. I put paper on a table. Your grandfather did the rest years ago. She exhaled. He said he might try to challenge it, she added. He might, I said. That's his right. My right is to answer with documents instead of arguments. She hesitated. He wanted me to ask if you'd reconsider. If there was anything you'd accept to give him another chance. Has he apologized? I asked. For the tag, for the porch, for the brunch, for calling my doctor and bank and pastor? Her silence was answer enough. There is nothing to reconsider, I said gently. But there is something you can do for yourself. Do not stand between us. Don't be his messenger. Don't be mine. You're allowed to love us both without carrying our paperwork. She nodded, eyes bright. Then next Wednesday at 4? Next Wednesday at 4, I said. Miles texted later that week, a photo of the storefront lease, signed and scanned, and a message, landlord accepted the changes. Free month for build out. Assignment clause approved. Can we finalize the loan next Friday? While one branch of the family tried to paint me as incapable, another was building shelves in an empty space and arguing about the ideal espresso machine. Reality and narrative, side by side. Carter called to update me on the legal side. Ryan had retained new counsel, who filed the notice of intent to challenge executor determination, but no actual motion. The court set a brief status conference. You don't need to attend, Carter said. It's procedural. I'll bring the codicil, the exhibit list, and a short memorandum. If they file something real, we'll see it. If they don't, the clock runs out. Is it wrong that I'm tired of clocks? I asked. It's not wrong, he said. But in this case, clocks are on your side. The status conference came and went. Ryan's lawyer asked for more time, then withdrew 2 days later. A new name appeared on the docket, then nothing. The clerk entered a minute, no motion on file to set aside executor's determination. Carter forwarded it to me with a single line, the codicil stands. I printed the entry and placed it at the front of the estate tab. Life resumed its strange new rhythm, watercolor on Thursdays, book sorting at the shelter once a month, church on Sunday, binder updates whenever a new attempt surfaced. The senior living representative left one more voicemail, this time insisting she'd been assured by family that I was open to a tour. Carter sent a formal cease contact letter referencing the preservation notices and hinting, politely, that further calls might appear in a different kind of file. The calls stopped. The neighborhood app saw one more anonymous post about an elder refusing help. I took screenshots, sent them to the moderator, and watched the thread vanish. The moderator messaged privately that weaponizing anonymity violated guidelines. I printed that, too. It wasn't dramatic, the way justice settled. No gavel slam, no fainting in a courtroom. It happened in quiet increments, a clerk's note, a missed deadline, a lawyer who never filed the motion he'd implied he would. In the meantime, Miles sent me cash flow projections, Jenna sent me photos from a cheap cabin in Vermont they were saving for. Ryan sent silence. Which, after everything, might have been the loudest thing of all. When the redistribution paperwork arrived, it was just paper. 4 pages, numbers in columns, Carter's neat handwriting in the margins, per codicil, per will, receipts filed. But as I sat at my kitchen table with the late morning light on the pages, it felt like something else entirely. Thomas's voice, still choosing. Under the schedule, Ryan's name had a line through it. In its place, 2 new lines, additional share to surviving spouse, Eleanor Hart additional share to remaining descendants, pro rata, Jenna Hart, Miles Hart the forfeited portion of the estate, the money Ryan had already imagined as his, moved on paper away from him forever. Half to me. Half split between the grandchildren who had visited, listened, and never once asked to see my bank screens. I didn't cheer. I didn't gloat. I traced Thomas's signature at the bottom of the codicil with one finger and whispered, "Thank you for seeing this," before I did. Carter filed the redistribution with the probate court and sent confirmation that transfers had cleared. Jenna and Miles each acknowledged receipt with short, stunned emails. "I don't know what to say except I'm so sorry it came to this and thank you for trusting me," Jenna wrote. "I'll treat this like seed, not fuel," Miles wrote. "For the store, for something solid. I'll send statements." I smiled at that. Even in gratitude, he spoke in ledgers. At the library, the 2 small watercolors I'd painted, the harbor with 3 holes and a quieter landscape with a strip of sky the color of patience, went up on the wall with a simple card, Eleanor Hart. No biography. No taglines. Just my name, spelled correctly, with no jokes underneath. A week later, the clerk handed me an envelope. One of the pieces had sold. The library had taken its commission and cut me a check. "It went to an older gentleman," she said. "He said it reminded him of a place he hasn't seen in years." I deposited the check and slipped the receipt into the arts tab. It was a small amount in dollars, enormous in meaning. After months of being framed as the old lady paying for everything, I had made something someone wanted to pay for. Miles's store opened on a Saturday morning, the chalkboard sign parked on the sidewalk like a shy invitation, Harbor Light books and coffee, soft opening. Inside, the shelf smelled of sawdust and paper, the espresso machine hissed softly, and Miles moved between the counter and the tables with a nervous energy that felt exactly like possibility. The first customer bought a used paperback and a black coffee. Miles rang it up, handed over the receipt, and looked up at me as if to say, "See? It works." At the back table, after closing, we spread out his first week's numbers. Sales were modest, but real. Expenses were what we'd budgeted. "Reserve line is already doing its job," he said, tapping the cell where he charged a small grinder repair. "Good," I said. "That line is there so you don't come knocking when a machine coughs." He grinned. "I know. This way, if I come knocking, it'll be about poetry, not plumbing." We filed the end-of-month profit and loss statement in his store binder and a copy in my lending tab. 2 binders, side by side, both built on paper that told the truth. Jenna and Caleb took their Vermont weekend, paid entirely with their own savings. They sent me 2 photos, a lake half covered in mist and a handwritten receipt from a small cabin. "We stuck to the budget," she wrote. "No Maldives. Just us." I printed the cabin receipt and tucked it into the life tab, not as evidence against anyone, but as proof for myself that cycles can break in one generation if someone chooses differently. Ryan's presence shrank. A few careful emails through counsel, a brief attempt at informal mediation that Carter declined with 2 calm sentences. No guardianship petition ever materialized. If it did on the drafting table of some law office, it died there, suffocated by the sheer weight of our documentation. One last time, the resort events manager emailed to say someone had requested that my name be removed from the donor banner at the ballroom entrance and replaced with Hart Family. She declined. The invoice had my signature on it, the banner would keep my name. I printed her note and clipped it behind the wedding tab, the same tab that began with a photo of a cruel name tag and now ended with a line that read, "Donation remains credited to Eleanor Hart." The binder shifted from growth to maintenance. I weeded duplicates, made a clean index card for the front listing only the things that renewed, fraud flag dates, furnace service, loan payment schedule, water bill code phrase. Carter called one last time to say the window for challenges had closed on the estate. "Ryan may be angry for a long time," he said. "That's his to carry. You've carried your part. The law is where it needs to be. The rest is family, and family doesn't always behave." "I noticed," I said. "Keep your binder," he added. "Not because I expect another storm, but because it reminds you what you did when the last one came." Outside, Linda Gates installed a small solar light over her free library. Miles put one just like it over the little box in front of his shop. Kids began leaving drawings inside the lid when they took books, a trade of paper for paper. He taped the drawings to the office wall. On Wednesdays at 4, Jenna still came by. Sometimes she brought nothing but herself, sometimes she brought a loaf of bread or a new story about her job. We sat on the porch, the plant she'd given me spilling over its pot, and we did not talk about wills or codicils. Once, she said quietly, "I'm sorry my wedding was the place all this started." "It wasn't where it started," I said. "It's just where the truth finally got a name tag I could photograph." She laughed, then covered her mouth as if she weren't supposed to. "Grandma," she asked, "do you ever wish you had just stayed quiet to keep the peace?" I thought about it. About the years of checks I'd written without boundaries. The porch confrontations. The brunch ambush. The wellness checks. The threats. The codicil, lying quietly in a lawyer's drawer until my husband's line was crossed. "No," I said. "Because what you call peace was just the silence before someone else's decision. I prefer noisy truth to quiet erasure." In the evenings, when the house settled and the day's tasks were done, I sometimes opened the binder just to feel its weight. It did not love me. It did not hug me back. It did not say my name the way Thomas had. But it held the proof that I had stayed standing when people who said they loved me decided my life was a project to manage. Trust is warm. It lives in dinner tables and held hands and shared jokes. It lives in grandchildren who ask for loans instead of gifts, and in watercolors pinned to library walls, and in neighbors who wave from across the street and quietly testify with their presence. Logs are cold. They live in dates and times and signatures and transcripts and codicils locked in fireproof drawers. If I have learned anything, it's that a woman my age needs both. So I kept them where they belong, trust at my table, logs on my shelf. My house, my name, my money, my mind, still mine. And when I passed the binder on the hallway table, upright and steady, it was like seeing an old friend who doesn't speak unless spoken to, but when asked, tells the truth in order, from the beginning, without flinching.